This is the Sharing Without Shame podcast, where we go beyond addiction to uncover the deeper roots of trauma and shame. Hurt people. They hide behind masks. And here, we're done hiding. We're sharing our stories without shame.
Hello, and welcome to the Sharing Without Shame podcast, voted number 27 out of the top 100 addiction podcasts in the U.S. and recognized by Million Podcasts as a top 100 addiction recovery and sobriety podcast. This show is for parents and loved ones who are hurting in silence. I know the emotional pain of loving someone in active addiction, the sleepless nights, the fear, the guilt, and the constant questions, am I helping or am I hurting? That's why I created the Sharing Without Shame Reset Method, a powerful approach designed specifically for parents and loved ones or partners to move from the chaos and the crisis to clarity, how to set boundaries and find their peace. So if you're ready for change, and you can start with my 5 boundaries and breakthroughs, and you'll find those in the show notes. If you're ready for something where you really want to get in there and make some changes, then my reset method is exactly what you're looking for. So today, I would like to welcome Bonnie Tisdale, who is a mother, a business owner, and a soon-to-be author, who understands on a deeply personal level the kind of pain that changes you forever. Her work is rooted in compassion, truth, and the courage to stay present in life's hardest moments. Through her upcoming book, Bonnie shares a powerful reflection on love, loss, and healing, offering connection and hope to families who often feel unseen, alone. Honored to have her here today. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, first question I like to ask is, what would you like to share without shame?
I would love to share with everybody a little insight on where this grew in my heart, experiencing addiction and the loss of our son in 2021 from his struggles with addiction. There was almost an instantaneous tug that I felt that people, parents, family members need to share or understand or have some kind of hope that for whatever it looks like for them, that the loss is not their fault, or the loss was unpredictable, or even if somebody's still struggling, where can their journeys kind of take them to help, not enable, understand more, I think was the most part. And not to, I apologize if I go all over the place, but not to say that there's one right answer or that there was no pain at the time. I mean, it was painful. Everything they'd gone through. For me, I had a lot of people reach out saying things like, how could he do this? Or how could he let this happen again? Things like that. And it's sometimes for people that don't understand addiction or people that are struggling with substance and, they don't understand that it's not a conscious decision. Sometimes it's subconscious, and that drawer, that whatever it is, and the demons that are inside pulling to run away, escape, hide. It's not a conscious thing. It's very, and I just feel like sometimes there's still, even though there's been tons of years and years of exposure to alcoholism and drug misuse and all that, there's still a misunderstanding, I think, across the board. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was looking at some of my reviews, and a person said people shouldn't follow me because I said they lost their right to choose. And her point was, you choose this. And my point is, no, you might choose. Our children decided to experiment or, recreational drugs, peer pressure, whatever it was, and our children became addicted. Once the disease takes over, my point was they lost their right to choose because now the addiction is in the driver's seat. They're not.
I had that same conversation with, at the time, my 10-year-old granddaughter.
It's okay. I cry here.
Who
You can cry.
realized, right? Who realized that her dad, who is still with us, my middle son, he also had struggled with addiction and made choices and went down the wrong path. He was in jail, and she made this realization and came to the conclusion of where he was and what was happening. And I'm her safe spot sometimes, and she comes and asks these out, these struggles and these questions that she's struggling with, and she wanted to know why he didn't love her.
Yeah, about that.
And and we were just sitting here, and she's like, Nana, why didn't Daddy love me enough to stay? And I was like, whoa, right? And you just hit it. Right? And I'm like, honey, it's not that he didn't love you.
Yeah.
The drugs took that from him.
Yeah.
And then fast forward another 5 years, and Frankie passed, and her and Frankie, that was her uncle, and they were very close because she didn't have that connection with her dad. And when he died, she's like, why, Nana, why? And why did he keep doing that? Right. And it's like, he didn't make that choice, honey. The drugs made the choice for him. And, drugs take, and they take, and they take, and alcohol takes, and it takes love, and it takes your family, and it takes things from you, and you lose that choice, and it takes over. And, I really think it hit home with her, and a little more understanding, especially being so young and experiencing both ends of it. Right. She has this active addict who's in prison. And then she has, an uncle who was doing so great up to the day. And, experiencing that from her eyes. And through my book, I tried to look through her eyes as well as other family members. Like, how did they experience that? And how are they untangling all those emotions and feelings around? Right.
And there's a whole generation, or probably 2 generations now, of kids who the grandparents are raising. The parents are sick and suffering, and they're either still out there in active addiction, or they're could be homeless. And I mean, there's so many dynamics that happens with all of this, and it's such a tightrope that everybody walks on, and they walk on it.
Yeah.
They're walking that fine line between death and, in their mind, keeping themselves alive by using, because they don't want to get sick, or, I mean, you can't die from withdrawal of drugs like opioids. However, you can from withdrawal from alcohol.
Yes.
So as somebody who knows it from both sides, how was that for you?
So when we first realized he was using, he was about 14. He was, that transition from middle school to high school.
I know it well.
And he was, a 3-season athlete. His grades were okay. Like, he had friends that he hung out with that were pretty tight. And then his best friend from kindergarten stopped coming around, having conversations with us about not wanting to do certain camps, or not wanting to do a sport this season, or, like, things just started to be taken away. And as a recovering alcoholic and addict myself, I saw right away, I was like, what's going on? And unfortunately, he was extremely honest, and he was upfront and told us, like, I just don't want to. And my friends are changing. And there was an older girl involved, and, just the whole social dynamic, high school, hormones changing for boys at that age, right? Like, trying to find their level in life, and a little independence and freedom. And he's smoking weed, right?
Yeah.
And I have a saying I say all the time: it's not just weed, not for an addict. It's not just weed.
Listen, I think this is my thought, and I see this with little ones. And when I see little ones behave in a certain way around sugar, it really scares me.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where it really starts. You know, you watch somebody around sugar. I mean, that's like trying to get off heroin.
Yeah.
For God's sakes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And,
I have two little grandbabies here right now living with us
yeah.
that you can see that where. Yeah.
So my son was the same age as yours. And, you know, when he started to, you know, play around with the cannabis and wanted to be cool and wanted to fit in, you know, that junior high age.
Yeah.
6th, 7th grade, or 6th and 7th, I think are really difficult. 8th grade, because they're, well, in our school system, they were the oldest. So they were, you know, they were, couldn't get over themselves. They were so cool.
Yeah.
And then you go to high school and you're low guy over the totem pole again. But, and it's hard because I'm sure you'll agree with me, is that we learned we couldn't love them into recovery no matter what we tried.
Yeah. He grew up coming to meetings with me. You know, my dad was in recovery as well. And my husband's, and, you know, we're both clean and sober, and we lived a clean, sober life. And his exposure was there to, you know, right, wrong, and hey, this might not be good for you. Free will kicks in at a certain age and they are off and running. And when it's there, you know, it's a disease and it's hereditary. And I truly believe that. And I see the behaviors even in my younger grandchildren. And I see some of those. And I remember thinking at the time, like, so it progressed, right? More fun things, right? All of a sudden he's drinking and I'm like, oh, looking in a mirror. And like, what do we do from here? What can I do differently that my parents didn't do at the time? Because they went through the same thing with me.
Yeah.
And I really was like, okay, what can I do? How can I intervene sooner in a way that's going to help him? Right. Well, I went to the state thinking, oh, I'm going to get some help there. And it could work for some kids. You know, there's those scare tactic programs out there that, you know, you send them off in the woods or whatever. And I mean, we looked into everything and yeah, there was a price tag. We were
Scared straight. Is that it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. You know, we're looking at the time, $10,000, $20,000 to send him somewhere. And I'm like, we're not rolling in the dough. Like, I don't know how this is going to happen. So my last resort was the state because he had stopped going to school and stopped listening to us. And I got him, you know, we had a little TINS order put on him and off he went to a state program. And the exposure within that system, and I can't say what it's like now, but at the time, he was exposed to more things than, of course, right? So he's around other children that are exposed to other things as well in their lives most of the time. I don't want to stereotype, but parents are in addiction as well, right? And here he is in a home with clean and sober people going through the same thing. So he didn't have the experiences some of those kids had. And then it just escalated. It escalated. And I got a lot of, you don't understand. Nobody's listening to me. I just want to run away. And he was extremely honest. He never blamed us. And I know this because I read some of his step work that he had left behind. He was feeling a loss. He was feeling alone. He was feeling less than for whatever reason. Like his biological father never had anything to do with him. And when he had tried to reach out to him, was met with that as well. So I think a lot of those not feeling good enough, right?
Yeah.
And as much as we loved and cared for him, it wasn't about us, right? And that was the one thing I took away from it all, is that it wasn't about anything I did or didn't do, I said or didn't say. We loved him and he knew that. I was kind of grateful I found his step work because, you know, as a mom, regardless of what I know, you feel like you failed. And that was the one thing that pulled me out of that feeling like I failed, is seeing his writing and saying, then I know my mom left me. And this isn't about you, Mom. And I think that's what parents need to hear as well, is that this is not about you. It's about them needing to clear and work through. And if we could have just, I don't know, talked more or this or that. Like I went through that whole roller coaster of, you know, the week before he passed, we saw him. He was clean and sober up 10 months to the day. Almost. I say almost. And that week prior, we had dinner with him, and I knew something was up. And of course, we talked about it.
Yeah, that mother's instinct, you know.
I knew.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I just smoked a little weed, Mom.
And it wakes the tiger up.
And this wasn't right. This wasn't the first time. He had been 3 or 4 or 5 times trying to get clean. And each time, I'm just going to smoke a little weed. And literally his words, I don't understand why I just can't come home and just smoke a little weed. I don't know what the big deal is. Well, for an addict, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Just so people know, because it weakens their senses. Because my son would do that I'll just have a beer. You know, he'd come home from treatment. I'll just have a beer with my buddies. I'm going to go out. He's going to go out with my friend. And it was a different crowd, right? And I knew like they'd have beer. And next thing I know, within a month or two, he's back into shooting heroin. And because what I learned was that it weakened his senses, and it's a slow climb back or a slow decline back. And because their body's not used to it, I don't know if your son injected how he did what he did, but their body's not used to it. And that's why, especially when they've been in recovery for as long as they have, that's what happens many times.
Wasn't ready. And he was living in Portland, Maine, in a sober community. He's doing great. Surrounded by people that loved and cared about him. His girlfriend was there. She's in recovery. She's still clean. She was the one who found him. And that day came back to stomping grounds. It's a 2.5, 3-hour drive to get what he needed. Went off the road 3 times on his way back and ended up passing in his apartment the next morning. She had tried to revive him and all that, and it didn't work. He had made plans to show up to meet her somewhere and didn't show up. So she went to the house, and she knew as well that he wasn't in a good space, and I tried to talk with him. I mean, that was I think for me, the most valuable thing for me during my especially early recovery was to talk and get it out. And now it's like I vomit all over everybody when something's going on because I don't want it in here. If I have something going on and I'm struggling or something's heavy, I get to share it and release it because it's not good for me. Even this long in the run, it makes me an unhealthy Bonnie, and I'm not an unhealthy Bonnie. No. And that was one thing for him. And also that week, like things that I just noticed that his phone had broke, right? So he had no resource to call people. I even offered, like, come on, we'll go to Walmart right now. I'll buy you a new phone. No, Mom. So he shut me right down with some, wasn't me. That was his choice. And the drugs talking well, if you have a phone, you're going to call people and they're going to talk you out of this. So we're just going to keep you sitting right here, miserable and happy at the same time. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's such a horrible disease, when I've heard people say that little voice that comes in, that evil voice, one more time, maybe you're really not addicted. Just one more time and you'll be fine. You can do this. Yeah, my son used to drive from New York to New Hampshire on a Friday. It was a 7-hour drive from there to college. See this truck go by, and I was like, gee, that looks like him. I'm thinking, couldn't be. He's up in the Adirondacks,
Yeah.
It's, it's as parents and loved ones, partners, whoever, we're such in panic and crisis so much of the time that we're looking for ways to rescue and save them. And it's so hard when they don't want to be rescued or saved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I learned the hard way. I couldn't love him into recovery. And I also learned, I became a harm reduction trainer. And it was one of the hottest trainings I ever took because I'm watching people who are in recovery for a long time, learning a different idea about recovery that, maybe you can drink a little bit. Not everybody, has a drinking problem. So I'm watching these people in class, flipping out and not knowing, I don't know if I could teach this because it was It was really
Right.
playing with their heads. And I do know a couple of trainers that I know of, started dabbling and both have passed, because of, but to me, because I tried to teach harm reduction to the parents I work with. And the way I do it is, let's talk about safe clean needle. I'd rather have my son have a fresh needle than one that's been used and the needle's fractured and can cause an abscess or, stuff like that. Or let's talk about, how do we negotiate that if you do this, maybe go see a recovery coach, I'll pay for a guitar lesson, or somehow try to figure out a plan to help them move along in their recovery. Can you speak to any of that?
I absolutely can. So we're a very active family. Fitness wise, we're very active. Like I said, they were all three of them were three season sport players. And so they were always active moving. And I know personally from my own experience that moving and staying healthy and staying active, it just creates more joy and love and you feel good, right? Every time he'd go in and out, and every time he would email me like Spartan races or mud runs or things like that. Like, we should do this together, right? Because he'd be feeling good. Like, come on, Mom, we should do this together. And finally, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, let's see how you do. Like, I never really put anything compounded into place. Well, this last time I had said, okay, give me 6 months. If you're clean for 6 months, I will pay for us to go and do a Spartan race because they're not cheap. Yeah. And sure enough, he was like, I did it. So now I'm like, oh, great. Now I get to do this crazy obstacle thing because I said I was.
Like a mud runner? Is it?
It's got mud and it has ropes and it has tires and it has fire and it could have ice. They have like all of these, giant monkey bar things and tires and big 50-pound bags you got to carry around. Like, it's big, huge dart javelins you got to throw into something. Oh yeah, it's pretty wild.
And you did it too?
I did it.
Oh my
goodness. And I and my two nephews, we did it that August. And I was like, in my head, like, okay, that worked, right? Yeah. All right. So we finished. And I was like, and one of my nephews that was there, Charlie, they're a little bit younger. And he goes to college at A&M. And I said, hey, there's one of these coming up in March in Texas. I will pay for us to go. Do you want to go? We'll go do another one in Texas. Right? And I'm thinking, this is going to keep him clean. It's going to keep him on track. We'll do this, right? Yeah. We'll do it. A month later, he had passed. I know. So yes, at some level, it can help kind of give you, I know for me when I was running and I had a goal when I was running, like, I always had a race I had to practice for, right? So there was an end game for that, right? There was something to focus on, something that all this effort was going to work up to. And it worked once. And I was like, let's see if it can do it again. We did honor him and we did go out there and ran the race in Texas. And it was beautiful and dirty, dusty. I think I had done one more after. And then my body decided to get a little older on me and I wasn't really liking it very much. So I had a few injuries I had to heal up again. But I won't say it's not in my future again, but I can thank him for pushing me. So.
Yeah, good for you to do that. Yeah. I'm not the athletic sort. That would have been really challenging. Thankfully, my son did do some of those things though. When he was, throughout his recovery, he's the mad mutter or something like that.
Mad mutter, that's one.
Yeah, that's what he did, and I think he did it twice. And so let's talk about your book.
I have a coach myself these days, and she put my feet to the fire for my final draft date is going to be in March. Because again, if you don't have a date for something, right, sometimes you just keep putting it off. So it's called Messy in the Middle. Love, addiction, and
Messy in the
all the
middle?
rest. Messy in the Middle. My heart is in this book because it's really truly about what happens before, leading up to. We talk about all of it, but we talk more about the signs, or the signs I didn't see, maybe, or the feelings I didn't see. That, and I feel like too, from a boy's perspective, right? Articulating some of the emotions and feelings at 14, 15, 16 years old, and sharing that with somebody else of how they feel, Leslin, or their frustrations, and then also the peer pressure and the exposure, and all those things. Like we cover it all of how did we get here, and how can I help other parents who may not understand addiction, or drug use, or alcohol use, or cutting, or depression, or any of those things, right? Because that can be an addiction as well, self-harm. And
Sure.
how do they get there? How do they get to that point? And not that, I'm not a doctor, I'm not, schooled in anything like that. I just know my experiences, and I share my experiences, and others who I've talked with that either have lost a child, or have experienced it with a spouse or a sibling, or they're even still here in addictive and active behavior, and just to bring some compassion and understanding to the world, and hopefully bring a message that can connect some dots, that we can maybe eliminate some of this. No mom should have to bury their child, especially for something that the world created.
Right. Oops. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, that was my greatest fear. You got me crying.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was my greatest fear, and that's a hard one. For me, is that no matter how much we love them, no matter how much unhealthy helping I provided,
Yeah.
it was all about him. It wasn't about me.
Mhm.
But one of the things I realized, that I tried to do everything, and I tried to fix it and fix him and all that stuff, and here's my self-centeredness. And it took me years to realize it was being self-centered. How would I go on without him if I didn't do everything? So I was doing what I was doing to make me feel better, thinking I was helping him.
Mm-hmm. I feel some of that for sure. How's people going to see me?
Well, they're going to judge us no matter what. Let's talk about that. No matter what we do, we're going to get judged. They say crappy things to us, horrible things to us, and they don't have a clue what we're going through, and that they don't understand addiction.
Right. I see it all the time when you see a post from the police department, or I try not to get into the weeds with that, but if I see, we had a friend, here's an example. We had a friend whose son made a really poor choice, and there was a big explosion in town. Big giant explosion. He was out in a field, nobody got hurt. The name calling, not just about him. And these are good people that are part of our community, that work for the school system, and he wasn't he's not bad. We're not bad people.
Mm-mm.
None.
Mm-mm.
Using, hello, that's somebody's child, or brother, or uncle, or sister, or whatever. Like, we're people. And the insults that come out, I want to find them and shake them and be like, what have you done in your life?
Yeah.
Like, you're throwing stones. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. People don't usually live in glass houses.
No.
And
No.
I think sometimes people do stuff like that because it's going on and they don't know how to handle it. So by lashing out, that maybe it makes them feel better or superior, or I don't know, but I never understood it. I mean, I would never say anything to anybody.
Mm.
And it just blew my mind, that the horrific. I was speaking at Belknap County Jail. Can't talk today. Belknap County Jail. They had like a diversion program or something, and I would speak there. every month or whatever. And when I was done, this woman, he had a 17-year-old boy in the program, and she came up to me and said, "Your son deserved to die, and so doesn't my son."
Ouch.
I mean, I was speechless. And, I just said, "Geez, I'm awful sorry to hear that. But my son doesn't deserve to die, nor does yours. And if you can get educated about addiction and understand that it's a brain disorder, and maybe you'll be able to help your son to find his way into recovery. But this is not good." And then I immediately went and found the director of the program and said, "I don't know how you do it, but get that little boy away from her.
Mm.
She's dangerous. He's just going to keep using, because
Yeah.
how do you live with somebody who's that cruel when your own mother
And
said?"
who's speaking that to you, right?
Yeah,
It's hard enough we do that to ourselves,
yeah,
right? That language that we talk to ourselves, and how, I'm grateful that I've been able to process through that and not have those silent conversations with myself anymore. And if I do, it's short lived. Some people don't ever get that because they hear it somewhere, they get labeled somewhere, and it's like, it's like, hey, I have ADD, and that becomes a label for them.
oh
And they
no,
use it as the victim crutch. And we have this conversation a lot around here. Like,
yeah,
you are not anxiety, you are not ADD, you are not PTSD. Those are things that are going on, and
yeah.
there's ways to heal them.
Yeah, that's one of the things when the families or partners, parents, whoever I work with, is let's talk. We see the person first. We use their name, and it drives me crazy. There was a program that I had gotten to know the founder, and went out and did a TV stint with her, and I detached from her because and because the parents would call their kids, and I don't like these words, my addict son or my addict daughter. And I was like, "Can you please not do that? Can you just say, hey, my daughter who's, using or is in active addiction, can you just say her name? Because that's a beautiful person there
Yeah.
who happens to have a brain disorder, right? And that's not who they are. It's just a little piece.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that and get educate." And they they were so nasty to me, I ended up leaving the group because it's like, I don't want to be around negativity. I can do that all by myself.
Oh gosh, I know. Me
I,
too.
I don't need help with that.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
so anyway, what would be for any mom or dad or parent, your partners? I mean, what would any words of wisdom that you would like to share with everybody before we wrap up?
Just love them
Mm,
for who they are, not who you think they should be or who you want them to be or who society wants them to be. Love
yeah,
them for who they are.
yeah. And if they choose to live that lifestyle, figure out a way to love them
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
How do you have a healthier, I guess, relationship when they're unhealthy?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
So your book will be out possibly in March, April, May.
Oh, the first draft is in March. Maybe. I say on or before March 6th is my goal language. So it could be final draft by then. I would say late spring.
Well, we'll have to get that out there, let everybody know. It sounds
I'll
like a
share it
great
with me. Yeah.
book. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, your heart today. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I'm
And
so glad we connected, and
I
in
know.
the roundabout way that we did. It was amazing. It was,
Yeah. Well, God has a plan, and things
yeah.
work out the way that they're supposed to. And I see you on some of the fun things that you do on Facebook, and I even forget. I think I saw something you did something on Facebook, and because we didn't know each other, and I reached out to you, I believe, or
Yeah.
you reached out. One of us reached out to the other, and I feel like I've known you forever now.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I feel like we're fast friends.
Yeah.
It
I
works.
do share a lot. It's a very social platform, and I hope that my message is seen by somebody. If I can save one life, right? If
Yeah.
my message can save one life or save some love or
sanity.
Yes, that too.
Sanity for parents or family members or partners, whoever loves somebody in active addiction, we lose our minds.
Just hold that connection. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep doing the work you do and keep spreading
Absolutely.
the word. And thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
All right. I'll be looking for it.
Okay.
Thank you for joining Donna for today's conversation. Remember, trauma may wear many faces, but healing is about uncovering the truth beneath the pain and learning to live without shame. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps this message reach more hearts that need it. If you have a story of navigating trauma, shame, or addiction and how you found your freedom, Donna would love to hear from you. This podcast is built on real stories, and yours could inspire someone else's healing. Visit sharingwithoutshame.com to connect with Donna, apply to be a guest, or learn how to bring her books, coaching, and speaking engagements to your community or organization. Until next time, remember, healing begins the moment you choose to stop hiding and start sharing without shame.